This is part 3 of my reading of the really crappy fanfic that I wrote when I was like 18, 19 years old. I'm the only one, which is the Sweeney Todd fanfic. This is being filmed on the same night I recorded part 2. It's probably not going to be aired around the same time though. I'm going to try to get as much of this done as possible. The thing about these video files that are being filmed with my webcam, even though they're really crappy in quality, they take up a lot of space, so I'll probably have to edit these two and delete the original files before I can record the other parts. So I'm just going to record these 2 parts tonight and probably record the next 2 parts tomorrow night, which for you guys will probably not matter because by the time these air, it could be a week after I film them, so whatever. Let's get started with Chapter 11, Attend the Tale of the Marketplace Showdown, which is a complete and utter rehash of Chapter 9. Author's note. Thank you all for the great reviews. As promised, here's Chapter 11. This is one of the Mrs. Lovett chapters, so I'll be reading the chapter in Susan's voice, along with any comments I have to say will be in Susan's voice. Let's get started. What did Lucy say to you that got you so furious at her? He asks me. Bloody hell, this is going to be the night I die. Tomorrow the special of the night will be me. Well, I gotta tell him everything. Even if I wanted to lie, I failed miserably. Never been a good liar. She said a lot of things, Mr. Todd. I hear myself say as I stand up. I do not dare look at the man. Start from the beginning, he says to me. I shake my head slightly, starting to pace. Well, I was shopping for meat in the market when she spotted me. I didn't talk to her, but I didn't want to talk to her, but she wouldn't leave me alone, you see. I say, thinking back on how cocky and phony she was. The first thing that she said that pissed me off was, how's that Sweeney Todd fellow? I don't care if I'm mutilating her precious little voice. Seeing I'm going to die anyway, I might as well release my full feelings before I go. I couldn't believe that she referenced you like that, acting like you were some ordinary bloke that she never met before. Infuriated me, I continued, pacing faster. Even though I'm not looking directly at Mr. Todd, I can see him slightly in the corner of my eye. He's sitting on the couch as still as death. Bollocks. Well, I got this far, haven't I? When I confronted her on that, she says to me now, Ellen, as Sweeney Todd himself said that Benjamin Barker is dead. Her saying that really didn't help my temper, you know. I rat, bloody hell, thinking back on the incident, it's enough to make my blood boil. I yell at her, telling her that you rotted in Australia for 15 years and that you escaped for her. I told her that you are her husband. You want to know her response? I suddenly ask him, not really wanting to go on. Yes, he says softly. Well, here goes nothing. She said was my husband. He's changed too much for my liking. I couldn't believe my ears when she said this. I say to her that if I was in her shoes, I wouldn't care about how much he changed. She responded by calling me a fool, and then I trail off, not wanting to speak the next words that came from her mouth. Mrs. Lovett continued. I hear Mr. Todd say from the couch. He has an eerily calmness in his voice. Bloody hell, I'm dead. She said that you were a fool too for getting shipped off. She said that she accepted what the judge Beetle had to offer her. She said that she was going to marry the Beetle and that the judge will marry, unless I tell him it's Joanna. There was a long silence to follow. I really hope that he said enough, because I don't want to tell him the rest. Continue, he says quietly. Well, he was polite about it. I take a deep breath as I continue to tell my story. Takes a deep breath. So what, she like taking a deep breath and then like spewing it all out in one breath? Stupid. I asked her if she didn't really love you when you were Ben. I paused for a moment before I continued. She said that she never loved you. I don't dare to look at the man as I tell him the truth. I bet he won't believe me. I bet the second I finish telling him everything, he'll call me a liar and kill me on the spot. She said that you were nice and all, but she said that you were too naive and that you weren't wealthy. I wish I could strangle that little bitch. Said that her parents wanted her to marry you because you have the potential of being lovely, but then said that you were foolish and got shipped off to jail. She then said ye returned to be a brooding sap. I hated that I had to say that, but he wanted to know what she had said to piss me off, and that was one of the final straws. She then said that she was better off without you. She then said something to me that was most unpleasant, and that's when I snapped. Tell me what she said. Mr. Todd says quietly with steady voice. Why must he insist? She says, besides, I'm better off without him, Eleanor, so you can do whatever salty things you want to do with him when you get back to your shop. That's what she said, word for word, and that's what made me snap. Of course, well, you know, the rest. This is when I finally turn towards Mr. Todd's direction. He isn't sitting while he's standing, and he has an intense gaze set upon me. Bloody hell, this is it. He takes one swift step towards me, not taking his gaze off of me. Oh, another cliche in these Sweeney Todd stories. Mrs. Lovett says something, like pulls her heart out to Mr. Todd, and everyone's expecting Mr. Todd to kill her, but instead he doesn't kill her, he hugs her. Let's see what happens. I brace myself for the worst, closing my eyes. It's then that he does something I did not expect at all. I feel him wrapping his arms around me. What? Is he going to crush me? Is he going to carry me down to the bakehouse and start butchering me? No, he's hugging me. I can't believe it. Sweeney Todd is actually hugging me. Why the bloody hell is he doing that? I was right. Mr. Todd, I stutter, in utter confusion. I'm sorry, he says to me. Sorry? Sorry for what? Sorry that he's about to kill me or something. Well, my supposed death hasn't come yet. He's still bloody hugging me. Why are you capitalizing? I find myself cautiously hugging him back. To my surprise, he doesn't resist. This only causes him to hug me tighter. I'm sorry for being so blind, he continues. Part of me knew, but I didn't want to accept it. He must be talking about his blindness towards Lucy. It's not her idea, I say to him, still being cautious. He pulls away, but is holding me by the arms. I see a look in his eyes that I haven't seen in ages. Thank you, he says to me. For what? For standing up to her like that. He answers, looking terribly sad. I'm sorry for striking you. Just say for hitting her, for slapping her. I mean, what? If I would have known everything, he trails off, looking like hell. It's all right. You only caught the tail end of it, I say to him, trying to make him feel better. He looks at me and has this change of expression on his face. I'm not sure exactly, but it's as if he's realized something. Oh, another Sweeney Todd cliche in the fanfic. He finally realizes Mrs. Lovett's feelings for him. Apparently, he mutters, Lucy isn't the only thing I was blind about. Author's note. Oh, I wonder what else he was blind about. Do you want to know really? Okay, I'll tell you tomorrow. Ha 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 ha. Trust me, dearie, it's not that much of a shock. Don't worry, I bet you all have a good guess about what you just realized. Please review and I may give you another hint. Go fuck yourself. I can't believe I just told myself to go fuck myself. Well, that was chapter 11. Let's read chapter 12, Sweeney's Stunning Realizations. Shouldn't it say realization? Or is it, oh, I don't know. Either way, it's a stupid chapter title. Thank you all for the fantastic reviews. Chapter 12, here we go. Sweeney Todd. Mr. Todd, what are you talking about? Mrs. Lovett asks me, looking confused. I don't say anything to her. I'm too stunned to say anything. How could I have not noticed this all along? Her kindness towards me, how she sometimes blushes if I say something nice, how fired up she got when Lucy was speaking badly of me. It's so obvious. Hello, you in there? She asks, snapping me out of my thoughts. I look down at her as if seeing her for the first time. Bloody hell, she has a grin all over her face. Sorry, I got lost in my thoughts, that's all I say to her. I don't think it'd be wise to confront her on her feelings tonight. It seems it's been a rough day for her already. She smiles at me with that shyness hidden beneath. It's quite all right, dear. Perhaps you should go to bed and rest your weary bones, she says to me as she goes to sleep. I stop her gently by grabbing her arm. She seems tense under my touch at first, looking up at me with a hint of fear in her eyes. Shouldn't you get some rest? I ask her. Mr. Todd, look at me. She says flatly. I look at her and, oh, right, she's a bloody mess. Oh, sorry, I mumble, feeling rather stupid. It's okay, love, now get off to bed. She orders me nicely. I do something that I normally don't do. I give her a small smile before I turn and leave. I could have sworn I caught her blushing before I fully turned away from her. When I left my shop, I paced about the room. A lot is on my mind right now. Although I'm sad about Lucy, I also feel more free and at ease now that I know the truth. The truth was right in front of your face, you fucking idiot. It's an odd but pleasant feeling. Of course, I still want to kill the judge and the beetle, but it's only for pure revenge now. Wouldn't Lucy be upset that the judge and the beetle had purposely sent Ben off to Australia just to get with her? I mean, if you think about it, it's a very, very pointless action if she wasn't feeling the love for Ben anyway. It's stupid. It's really stupid, and if anything, Sweeney should want to kill Lucy, not the judge and beetle. Well, maybe he has motivation seeing they are trying to marry off his daughter and stuff, but it's so stupid. After a while, my thoughts drift upon Mrs. Lovett. I can't believe how blind I was. It's quite obvious to me now that she has strong feelings for me. That's fine, but I don't see how she could. I've been so mean to her since I've returned. I keep on thinking about what Mrs. Lovett had said to Lucy about not caring about how much I've changed. Could this possibly mean that she's like me even before I was shipped off? We've been friends since childhood. I don't think it started then. Maybe it was when her parents had arranged for her to marry Albert Lovett. It must have been then, because I can't recall her acting slightly different around me then. Who knows? Maybe if she wasn't married to Albert, it'd be me and her who would be married. I paused abruptly when that thought entered my mind. Eleanor and I as a couple, as kids we joked about it because we were best friends. I was slightly sad when she told me that her goddamn parents were forcing her to marry that pig, Lovett. But shortly after that was when I set my eyes on Lucy. If only I knew back then that she was a shallow woman. Perhaps none of this would have ever happened. I have to laugh at myself. 24 hours ago I worshipped Lucy. Now I find that the more I think about her, the uglier she seems to me. I feel so betrayed and used right now. And I can't believe she's going to marry Johanna off to the judge. Sorry, Joanna. I used to work with someone with the name Johanna. That's why I say Johanna, because I'm used to the name Johanna and not Joanna. Sorry. Either way it works, but if we're going by Sweeney Todd first, it is Joanna, not Johanna. I begin to pace again, really hoping that my little girl isn't fond of the idea of marrying that wrinkly old pig. I don't imagine him using terms like that. It just seems so childish. I don't like being married that wrinkly old pig. I paused for a moment, recalling the day when Mrs. Lovett came up with that brilliant plan. Before I yelled at Anthony to leave, he mentioned that he wanted my help with rescuing a girl from her tyrannical mother and fiancé. Of course, that's why the judge was so angry to see the boy. The boy loves my daughter, and it's very possible that she loves him back. God, why didn't I see this sooner? I collapsed to my barber's chair after tiring my legs out. I can't believe all this information. Lucy is going to force Joanna to marry the judge, who is a womanizing pig. Oddly enough, this reminds me of Eleanor's parents forcing her to marry Albert Lovett. Well, I'm not going to let history repeat itself. I get up and exit my shop. I have to tell Eleanor about this so the two of us can find Anthony Hope tomorrow. When I enter the pie shop, I see that the light is on in the parlor. I go in it and is about to say something when I pause. Another cliche in these Sweeney Todd stories. Sweeney goes to talk to Mrs. Lovett about something, and he finds her sleeping in the parlor, and she suddenly looks all sexy and beautiful. Because all women look sexy and beautiful when they're sleeping. Especially when their mouth is all agape and they're drooling all over the place. And when they wake up in the morning, their hair is all over the place and their bangs are messy. I would do a spoof of that right now, but I currently have a cat on my lap. And I don't want to give you guys that visual anyway. Let's continue. Eleanor is collapsed in her armchair, contentedly asleep. She's in a cleaner dress, and she isn't plastered in blood like she was earlier. Oh, no shit. Should I wake her up and tell her the news? No, it can wait for the morning. I turn to leave, but I stop myself. Slowly, I look back over at the woman who is sleeping in the chair. Until now, I never noticed how pretty she is. Don't get me wrong, I do think the actress who plays Mrs. Lovett, Helena Bonham Carter, is a very attractive woman. It's just this dialogue is making me puke a little bit inside of my mouth because of how corny it is. I walked up to the chair and kneeled down to Eleanor's level, truly looking at her for the first time. Her fiery hair is completely down, which would be a first for me to see. I never knew it was so long. I silently chuckled, realizing that the color of her hair is the same as my favorite color. Carefully, I take a clump of the hair in my hands. Well, that's not stalkerish. It's very soft, which shocked me. I always thought it'd be wiry because of how it looks when she wears it up. Eleanor shifts in her sleep, causing me to quickly let go of the fiery curls. I notice how uncomfortable she looks in that chair, so I very carefully maneuver my arms beneath her and I gently lift her up. And she's heavier than she looks. Wow, you're a fucking dick, Sweeney. I notice that's because she's mainly muscles from doing a lot of labor. Carefully and quietly, I carry her up to the second floor of her apartment. I'm very quiet when I pass Toby's room. I really don't want him to wake up and see me with his mom in the arms. Oh, bloody hell, the door is completely shut. Carefully, I lay her down in the hallway. I then open up the door, which is as locked as hell. I quickly look down at Mrs. Lovett, satisfied to see that she's still sound asleep. I carefully pick her up and go into her room. Christ, it's so bleeding dark in here. When I find her bed, I carefully lay her down in it. After I successfully tuck her in, I quietly leave the room. As I head up to my shop, I find myself smiling. Perhaps I can find love again after all. And under the cliche, after Sweeney Todd gets over his love for Lucy, he immediately falls in love with Mrs. Lovett. This chapter is longer than it looks, folks. It's short because it's mainly Sweeney's plots. As a matter of fact, this is my longest chapter, believe it or not. Please review. It's greatly appreciated. It certainly felt like my longest chapter. Okay, let's read chapter 13, Flustered Thoughts and Staring. The freaking names I come up with, or I came up with. What the fuck? Okay. Author's note. My sincere, you spelled sincere wrong, you fucking moron. Apologies for the delay. First off, I was up late last night because I was watching the Olympics, so I accidentally slept in later than normal. Then I kept on getting interrupted by my family. Megan, make us some cup soup. If you're going to drink your coffee, have it now. Megan, check the mail. Yeesh, it can get annoying at times, you know. Yeah, I don't think your readers really needed to know about your personal life. Oy. Bloody hell, what a night. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be reading in Susan's accent, so... Bloody hell, what a night. I slowly sit up in my bed, recalling last night's events. I can't believe Mr. T not only believed me, but he also hugged me. Bleating Christ. Hold on a minute. Didn't I fall asleep on the armchair last night? I look around my room, puzzled. I don't remember coming up here. I then look down at my cloths. Don't you be confused? I'm not wearing my nightgown. I'm wearing the outfit I changed into after I cleaned myself up. It's at that very moment that I realized that the only possible way I could have wound up in my room, someone carried me up here. Get rid of the comma and have it say, whatever. Is that someone came? Whatever. Blushing furiously, I get out of bed. What next? Well, I come down and discover that he decided to make breakfast. Spoiler alert, he does. Well, as I exit the room, I smell food. I just had to say that, didn't I? After waking Toby up, we both head down to the shop to see food waiting for us. I just love how when Sweeney gets over Lucy in these fanfics, he's suddenly all nice and charming acting and very sweet and kind to Mrs. Lovett. It appears that Mr. Todd had just placed her down, so he's standing next to the table when he spots us. Good morning, he says in his emotionless voice. Morning, Mr. Todd, I say to him. I glance down at Toby. He's eyeing Mr. Todd suspiciously. Mr. Todd takes a seat and I follow his action. Oh, bloody hell. He's sitting across from me. None of us say a word while we eat. My reasoning is that I'm still rather shocked and flustered about last night. Mr. Todd doesn't speak, because I'm guessing he has nothing to say. Toby, well, is there. Mr. Todd is doing the talking. When we all finish eating, Toby and I start to clean up. I notice Mr. Todd's look lingering on me, and I get the feeling that he wants to talk in private. Toby dear, I say as I turn to face my son. Yes, Mum. I hand the boy my purse and list. Seeing I didn't get to buy the meat yesterday, could you go and do that for me now? I ask him. He looks reluctant, but he takes the list and purse from me. Of course, Mum, he says as he turns away from me. After giving Mr. Todd another glare, he leaves the shop. I resume my cleaning, soon discovering that Mr. Todd's behind me because his shadow can be seen in front of me. Eleanor, he says hoarsely. I pause abruptly. Did he just call me by my name? The last time he called me that was the last day I saw him as Vendor and Barker. He was the only one person other than that twit Lucy who called me by that name. Everyone else would call me that yucky nickname Nellie. Whenever I hear that name, I think the cow, Moo. Yes, dear, I ask him as I turn and face him. Yeesh, could he be any closer? I have to look up to see his face, seeing he's so close to me. The proximity really isn't helping me pounding heart. What also isn't helping is the way he's looking at me. We need to search for Anthony Hope as soon as possible, he says. That's all very well, but who the hell is Anthony Hope? As if reading my mind, he continues. He's that boy who walked in on me shaving the judge. He helped me get back to London, you see, and he came to me that day from the help. I see, that makes sense. So, you want me to help find him, I ask. Yes, not only would I be helping him, I'll be helping my daughter as well. Huh? His daughter? What does she have to do with this? That day, when he interrupted me, he said something about needing my help with freeing this girl from his tyrannical mother and fiancé. Mr. Todd continues, pacing around the room as he explains everything to me. I like the sound of it. Referring to Lucy as a tyrant is priceless. All right, I understand, I say to him. Mr. Todd faces me, looking down at me with those black orbs. You'll help me search for them, he asks me. Of course, dear. When do you suppose we start looking for him? I ask Mr. Todd. Today, if possible. Today? Well, I only had one body of the butcher last night. I suppose that I could bake the pies and have Toby run the shop while we're gone. The boy has done it before. All right, but I need to start making pies when Toby gets back. I'll have him bake them and sell them while we're gone. I say to Mr. Todd. All right, he answers. Smiling at him, I turn to continue to clean. I'm shocked Mr. Todd starts helping me out. It's all right, dear, I'll take care of this, I say to him. But he won't allow it. Let me help you, he says to me. I look at him and I see that peculiar look in his eyes. That look that gets me flustered. I quickly turn from him. Okay then, thank you. I mumble. You're welcome, he answers. In silence, we clean up the shop. I notice as we're cleaning it, Mr. Todd keeps glancing at me. I don't know why he's doing it, but it's making it harder and harder for me to stay in control of my actions. He's being very nice to me today. He's being very nice so far to me. He's being very nice so far today to me. So clunky. It must be because he feels bad about hitting me in the market yesterday. Yes, it has to be. I mean, seriously, why else would he be looking at me and being kind at me all of a sudden? By the time we finish, Toby comes with the meat I want. Toby, you think you can bake the pies and serve them on your own today? I ask him as I take the meat from him. Sure thing, Mom, why? Mr. Todd and I have to run an errand this evening, dear. Also, I need you to tend the shop while we're gone. All right? The boy tries his hardest to hide the shock on his face. He tries even harder not to glare at Mr. Todd. All right, Mom, he says quietly. I smile at him and head down to the bakehouse. This day's been full of surprises. I have to wonder what else is in store for me today. Meh, this chapter isn't my best. Oh well, as long as you all enjoyed it, please review. Okay, let's move on to chapter 14. An Unsettling Discovery is the name of this chapter. Let's get started. Well, at least I updated earlier today. When I start college in a couple weeks, I probably won't be able to update as frequently as I usually do, but that'll be in a few weeks. Enjoy. Okay, so this chapter must have been like, because I do believe college, like, it starts in September instead of August, so, very interesting. So this was shortly before I started college. That makes sense. Oh well. Let's continue. Finding Anthony is proving to be harder than I thought. We first went to the most logical place he could be, the docks. His ship, the Bountiful, was there, but there was no sign of him, so we decided to ask around for him from his fellow sailors. Of course, none of them knew his whereabouts. Yes, some shipmates there. For all they know, he could be rotting in a ditch. Mr. Todd, Eleanor says quietly, I think I might know where to find him. I turn to look at her. The look on her face is grim. She must mean that he's hanging around Lucy's place. Well, as much as I don't want to, we'll have to go there and check it out. Lead the way, I say to Eleanor. Quietly, we make our way to Main Street. When we get there, we discreetly search the perimeter of Lucy's house. I inwardly growl when I see there's no sign of him. I go to say something to Eleanor when we hear voices approaching our direction. Panicking, both of us look for a place to hide. Spotting a large bush, I grab Eleanor by the arm and hide us inside of it. It pains my heart, But it's for the best, dear Lucy, I hear the beetles say. I am very tempted to jump in and kill him on the spot, but Eleanor grips my arm to keep me still. I quite agree, James. Joanna must be punished for her ungratefulness and foolishness. Maybe with her being in Fogs, she'll learn a thing or two about gratitude. Fogs, is she talking about the asylum on the other side of London? Is she saying that my little girl is in an asylum? I believe she will, Lucy. She'll come to her senses soon enough, and she and the judge will be rightfully married. The beetle concludes. I feel my blood boiling with absolute rage. I can see Eleanor keeping a cautious eye on me, still holding my arm so I won't blow our cover and throttle Lucy for where she sent our baby. She wanted to run away with a filthy sailor. The nerve of her to do that. Doesn't she see that the judge is far better suited for her? Lucy drawls. Don't you see that the judge is old enough to be her great-grandfather? Eleanor whispers almost silently through gritted teeth. I look at her and she just shrugs it off with a very slight grin. Well, the ungrateful child will see soon enough, my love. Come, it's time for our tea. We hear the two of them walk away from our hiding spot. Talk about exposition there. After a few seconds, we hear the door shut. It's then that I get out of the bush hastily, with Eleanor following close behind. I'm in a fit of rage right now as we both march back to Fleet Street. Lucy has sent my daughter to an asylum. She sent her own flesh and blood to an asylum. And for what? For actually legitimately falling in love with a boy who is, I don't know, her own age? Mr. Todd, can you slow down some? I hear Eleanor call from behind. I stop and wait for her to catch up. That dress she's wearing does not really allow her to move fast, I suppose. So we continue back to Fleet Street with a slower pace. I notice Eleanor looking rather angered herself. What's on your mind? I ask her when we turn onto Fleet Street. Probably exactly what's on your mind, she answers sharply. I say nothing, knowing it'd be best to talk in private. When we get back to the pie shop, we see Toby cleaning up after the busy day. While Eleanor goes to help him, I head up to my shop. I pause when I see Anthony himself waiting inside. Of course, we spent all afternoon searching for him, and here he is inside my shop. When I enter, he looks happy to see me. Oh, Mr. Todd, you're a sight for sore eyes, he exclaims as he approaches me. I can say the same for you, I mutter. He looks surprised. You've been looking for me, sir, he asks. I nod at him as I take a seat in my barber's chair. I know about the girl you're fond of, Joanna, and I'm willing to help you, I say to him. I watch him look defeated. Well, sir, Johanna's with a witch of a mother had her sent off to Fogg's Asylum, sir. I know, I say to him, getting up, and I know how you can free her. Anthony looks at me with hope in his eyes. Go on, he urges. Set yourself up as a wig-maker's apprentice and break her out when you're successfully inside. Then the two of you can escape London together, I say quietly. Anthony looks ecstatic. Oh, Mr. Todd, what a brilliant idea. Thank you, sir. With that said, Anthony dashes out of my shop. I am happy with my plan. When Joanna and Anthony escape, that's when I'll set my revenge in motion. If the judge won't come to me, then I'll come to him. You spoke to Anthony? Eleanor asks as she comes into my shop, looking exhausted. Yes, I did. He'll be freeing Joanna out of the asylum in no time. So what, was she like being the Tasmanian devil when cleaning up the shop? I would demonstrate, but I have a cat on my lap, and I don't think he'd appreciate if I started spinning around like crazy in my computer chair. I say calmly. She looks a bit confused. What do you mean? I told Anthony to set himself up as a wig-maker's apprentice, seeing wig-makers get their hair from asylums. Once inside, Anthony will free Joanna, and they'll escape London together. Eleanor comprehends this, looking happy. Brilliant idea, Mr. Todd. That'll show the beetle and Lucy for walking away, she mutters. I feel myself smile slightly, thinking about their reaction when they find out that Joanna has escaped with the dirty sailor away from London. So what are your plans for the judge and the beetle? Eleanor asks me quietly. I walk over to the large window in my room and stare at it. If they don't come to me for a shave, I mutter darkly, I'll just have to come to them. Sorry for the lack of lovey-doveyness, folks, but every story needs its plots. Yes, the name James is... I don't care about how you came up with the name. 18 is called Waiting and Surprises. Author's note. Sorry for the delay, folks. Slept in again due to the Olympics. Go Phelps. Yeah, in case you don't know, I'm an American. Enjoy this Chappie. 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 Chap. Okay, let's get the accent going. It has been 2 days since we sought out Anthony. I keep my ears open when serving customers to find out if Anthony has freed Joanna yet. I know it'd be the next new thing to speak about, seeing Lucy, Judge Tippett, and the Beetle are always being talked about by the customers in my shop. Normally I tune it out seeing I hate Lucy. Sorry. However, I'm listening very carefully for any news on Anthony or Joanna. As the evening wears down, the customers all leave. Sighing, I get to work alongside my son, Toby. After that's all done, I cook dinner and bring Mr. Todd up his food. Any news? He asks immediately. I shake my head and I see him looking disappointed. Fret not, Mr. T. Anthony is probably thoroughly preparing himself for the breakout. Give him time, I say to Mr. Todd as I set his tray down on his desk. When I turn and face him, he's staring out the plane window. Quietly sighing, I turn to leave the room. While I eat my dinner, I listen to my son rant about how rude the customers are to both me and him. They was like this when we barely had a business, he complains. I smile at him to try and calm him down. Toby, there's always going to be rude people in the world. You just got to deal with it, I say calmly. Toby still looks mad, but he drops the subject. After eating, we clean up the kitchen. I'm in autopilot while my mind thinks about the man upstairs. What will happen after he gets his revenge? Will he leave me and Toby when the judge and the Beagle are gone? All he seems to care about is revenge. Before it was losing a revenge. Why can't he just move on? The hours slowly go by, and I find myself down in the bakehouse butchering a body for tomorrow's pies. I am thankful that Mr. Todd seems to be killing either nobodies or filth like the judge. This man I'm butchering is a man like the judge. I had some bad luck with him in the past. He tried to shut down the pie shop immediately after Mihala died. Of course, he failed miserably when I proved to him that I am quite capable of running my own establishment. I have to laugh that he will be devoured by the people who probably all had their bad luck with him. After hacking him up, I put the butcher's knife down and I turn to get the bag that I put the meat in. I freeze when I see Mr. Todd standing in the doorway of the bakehouse. Bloody hell, I hate it when he does that. Evening, Mr. Todd, I say to him as I retrieve the bag. Good evening, he responds to me. His voice is deep and quiet, which makes me melt. I notice him watching my every move, but I start to fill the bag with freshly hacked meat. Eleanor, how long does it take you to butcher and grind meat? He asks me quietly. I stop what I'm doing and ace him. And ace him. Don't you mean and face him? Why on earth is he asking me that? It depends on how many bodies I have to butcher. I reply unsurely, watching him intently. Of course, he's got an unreadable expression on his face, so I can't tell what he's thinking. But how long for one body? He asks quietly. About 2 hours. Why do you want to know? I ask him curiously. I see him glancing at the 3 other bodies in the corner that were waiting to be butchered. He then approaches me and takes the bag of meat from me. I watch him as he dumps the contents into the meat grinder. He then turns and gives me a look. You're overworking yourself, Eleanor, he states plainly. It's my turn to give him a look. No, I'm not, I say to him, being my old stubborn self. His look lingers on me, giving me chills. I watch you when you're serving your customers. I know you're in pain from all this work you've been doing. He continues. He's been watching me. Well, that's comforting. Mr. Todd, I can assure you that I'm in perfect health, I state firmly to him. I'm going to help you every night from now on. I stare at him at disbelief. Mr. Todd, nothing you say will convince me otherwise, Bella. He interrupts as he goes over and picks up one of the bottles. Wait, did you just call me love? He probably meant nothing from it. Just being polite, that's all. So in half the time it takes me to butcher them, Mr. Todd and I finish the job in 4 hours. In silence, we head out of the bakehouse and settle down into the parlor for some gin. I don't get how you can do that all by yourself every evening, he says to me after a while. I take a sip of gin. I just do it. It isn't that bad after a while, I say him looking at me And so I turn and look at him. Again, he has his unreadable on his unreadable what? All that work isn't good for you, Eleanor, he says very softly. As soft as his voice could melt me right there, but I keep my composure. What are you, a witch? It has to be done, I answer simply. After finishing my gin, I place the glass down on the table. Mr. Todd does the same. When I get up, so does he. I turn and look at him, trying to read his emotions. Although his face is blank, his eyes tell a different story, though I can't put my finger on it. Why do you insist on overworking yourself? Why do you resist when I offer a helping hand? He asks me. I think hard about my answer, and I decide to answer from my heart. I overwork myself for you, dear, and I don't want to be a burden to you more than you already are. So, are you saying he's a burden to himself? Oh, that's silly. I answer quietly. The look on his face softens as he looks me in the eyes. As much as I want to, I can't break my gaze away from his as he takes a step closer to me. After gently seizing me by the shoulder, Mr. Todd does something that almost makes me faint from shock and bliss. He kisses me softly on the lips. Cliché. Watch. When he finally lets go of me, he turns and leaves the parlor, casting me one last glance before disappearing completely. I stand in my spot, transfixed as I place my fingers lightly on my lips from where he had kissed me. Heh, how sweet. Sweeney kissed Mrs. Love. It only took him 15 chapters to do it. Oh wait, I'm the one writing this story, not him. Well, I hope this was satisfactory. Please review. Not really. Well, at least these couple parts are nothing as long as others. I'll check how much memory I have left on my computer, and maybe I'll film the next part tonight just to get it out of the way. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for the next part.